till now, what we have done? Tell me, what all have we have done now? What is the topic?
The urban part of
The urban part. So basically we have covered up to the urban part, and today we will be understanding. So basically the main topic is society. Okay. And as this period is known as the second phase of urbanization, so the urban part we have covered. Okay. Now the second part, that is a rural part and other aspects. Or what was the dimension of the society? That today we will try to cover. Very small topic, nothing important, but only the slavery part is very much important. Okay, so that we will study. So again we will take the help of some of the important sources, and here the most important will be Megasthenes Indica and the Arthashastra. Here the role of Ashoka's inscription is very less in terms of understanding the stratification of the society, but Megasthenes Indica and Arthashastra, they are the two important things. Okay. So rural and urban life during Mauryan period. Topic is rural and urban life during the Mauryan period. Rural and urban life during the Mauryan period. Megasthenes in his account divided the Indian people into 7 strata. Megasthenes divided the Indian people into 7 strata. They were philosophers, farmers, herdsmen and hunters, artisan and traders, soldiers, king's counselors, and seers. Okay. This collection of occupational groups, and administrative ranks, corresponds neither to the varnas or to the jatis. Neither to the varnas nor to the jatis. It seems to have been Megasthenes' own invention. So basically, sometimes especially in the mains examination, there is one topic that we have 2 or 3 ways of classification of Indian sources. One is the literary sources and the second is the archaeological sources. and within the literary sources we have indigenous sources and the foreign accounts. Okay, within that foreign account, one of the thing is the Megasthenes Indica, the example of that. So what they basically, sometimes whatever they give information about the Indian time period or whatever time period they are reflecting, there is a biasness in their account. Why that biasness come, or whatever the information they are giving, that should not be accepted in face value as a truthful account of the Indian society. Because if we understand the society of Mauryan period, basically Varn divided society was there. This is the feature of the Indian society. And how the Megasthenes is doing the classification, it is based upon the Western model of understanding the society. The Western model was based upon this classification group. There were hunters, there were traders, there were philosophers, there were other aristocratic classes. So these type of classes were there. So what he did, he understood the society well. Megasthenes understood the society well, but the way he classified the society, that is not the right way of classification of understanding the society. Okay? So that thing, we have to keep this in mind while reading the foreign sources, that what are their limitations. The limitation is that the nomenclature what they have given is right. The nomenclature what they have given is right, but the way of classification is wrong. Why classification is wrong? Basically, we have, generally the society is understood in terms of the fourfold classification of the society. Okay? Remember that part. Sometimes in the prelims examination, maybe the UPSC can give you 6-7 options, and in that it can ask you that according to Megasthenes account, which of the following was the division of the Indian society, or which of the following group didn't fall in the division of the society as per the Megasthenes account. So you have to remember this 7-fold classification. Okay? In that way it can ask you. Okay? And as far as the mains examination is concerned, GS1, then it will be the one of the limitations. That what are the advantages of the foreign account and what are the disadvantages of the foreign account in understanding the Indian history. So this all of you have to find out. No. No, Indica is not available. Only in some other accounts are there, from which we find that what it means. It is a second form. Second form of interpretation is there. The original book of Indica is lost. It doesn't survive. After that, many other readers, many other writers were there who had the information about, and when they were writing something about, they gave inferences. So that according to Megasthenes Indica, this was the situation of that time. According to Megasthenes Indica. So what we are today studying is the second-hand account of the Megasthenes Indica, not the first-hand account. Remember that. Okay?
You said nomenclature and classification. Nomenclature is regarding the basic things he describes.
Nomenclature is how you identify the society. What terms you are. Nomenclature is what? Philosopher. Do we identify them in our Indian society? Are we calling them as philosopher? No. No, not anyone can be. Basically, we are saying the Brahmanas. That is the way. If they are referring to as artisans, we are saying them that the members of the guilds. These are the terms. We have to understand what is the indigenous sources, what the term they are using. So nomenclature, they are using again the Western terminology, and in terms of classification also they are not accepting the fourfold one system. Rather, how society was divided in their time, or what is the situation in the Greek or in the Western world, that they are trying to understand. So it is what? Juxtaposing the understanding of the West upon the East. This is the situation. Next line. According to Megasthenes, no one in India, according to Megasthenes, no one in India could marry outside their genus. No one could marry outside their genus. Now what is genus? Write down in bracket. It is a Greek word used to refer clan or other relationship, used to refer to clan or other relationship based on descent. Okay. So according to Megasthenes, no one in India could marry outside their genus, and the second point is nor could they follow, nor comma डाल के लिखो फिर nor they could follow another's occupation. Now, if I say these 2 points, you cannot follow others' occupation and you cannot marry outside the genus. This is the statement by Megasthenes. He is telling these two statements about the Indian society. Now, can you identify that what are the similarities? What he is basically trying to suggest? Yes. So basically what they are saying is that when they are saying you cannot marry, not gotra, here it is the varn. So one cannot marry outside the varn. The marriage has to be within the varn only. So in that way he has identified a correct point. But again the nomenclature which he is using is different. And now the second point he is saying that you cannot take another's profession. Again, which is a feature of the varn. Brahman hai, he has to study. Kshatriya, he is engaged in the warfare. Vaishya, he is engaged in other kind of activities like agriculture, trade work, and Shudra serving the others. So in that way, he had understood the Indian society correctly. So this is one of the advantage of the Megasthenes Indica, one of the advantage of the foreign account. Okay. क्या? Varn is basic. You cannot inter-varn marriage is not allowed according to Brahmanical thinking. This is what is being suggested. So that Megasthenes has identified. Varn also is also based upon your classification of your profession also. Your profession has also been defined, that in whichever varn you are, that according to that you are going to follow that profession. So two things he had clearly identified. So that is the advantage of one of the foreign account of the Megasthenes Indica. So what do we find? So he has correctly identified the hereditary, write down, hereditary occupation. So in that way, after that, so in that way, Megasthenes, so in that way, Megasthenes has clearly identified, so in that way, Megasthenes has clearly identified two important aspects of the caste system, two important aspects of the caste system, that is hereditary occupation and endogamy. Okay. Next paragraph. The Arthashastra mentions wage labor. The Arthashastra mentions wage labor, bonded labor and slave labor. The Arthashastra mentions wage labor, bonded labor and slave labor. The term karmakara, the term karmakara refers to a person who works in return for wages. Kautilya lays down a schedule of wages. Kautilya lays down a schedule of wages for workers. He also specifies the duties of the employers. And employees and punishment in case they were not complied with it. Okay. So this was the basically why, with the discovery of the Arthashastra in 1911, when it was discovered or it was found in one of the libraries of the Mysore, it turned out to be a very important junction for our freedom struggle, because the way it talks about the organization of a state, the way it talks about that how administration and organization has to be done, that was really remarkable. Okay. And as yesterday I had told that it is the first Indian text to discuss about the statecraft. So that was also a turning point, because we were accused by the Britishers that we didn't had any kind of civilization, and at the same time we didn't had any kind of working environment, or rather whatever the Indian society was living was under a despotic rule. Despotic rule was how the Indian society used to live. But this text, it gave an opportunity to the freedom fighters to present before the world and to present before the Britishers that the kind of a statecraft we had, it was not even in the Western world also. So that is another relevance of the statecraft. Another thing which is one of the limitation of the Megasthenes Indica is that they are saying that that there was no concept of private property in India. Megasthenes in his account says that there is no concept of private property in India, and the private property or the concept of the private property was introduced only with the introduction of the land revenue settlement introduced by the Britishers. That is the permanent settlement, Mahalwari settlement and the Zamindari statement. But now we will see that the concept of the private property existed even in the ancient India. Okay. So, next paragraph. Megasthenes appreciates Indian society for not having any slaves. The Arthashastra, on the other hand, has a very detailed discussion of dasas, that is the slaves, discussion of the dasas, that is the slaves, and ahitkas. Ahitkas. In bracket write down those pledged to creditors when contracting a debt. So basically a debt-ridden person. Okay. Basically a debt-ridden person. One who has taken a loan. That will be known as the ahitakas. Okay. Various types of slaves and situations of enslavement temporary and permanent are mentioned. It is from this topic that the UPSC in 2022 had framed one of the question related to Arthashastra. This was the topic. Okay. There is reference to slaves. In the service of private individuals as well as the state. Kautilya lists various rules for the treatment of male and female slaves. Kautilya lists various rules for the treatment of male and female slaves and lays down penalties for their transgression. Okay. There is reference to manumission. There is reference to manumission of slaves. What does it mean? Manumission of slave. What does it mean? Manumission of slaves. There is reference to manumission of slaves on payment of a sum of money. On payment of a sum of money, it means that if you are a slave and if you can pay the requisite amount, then you will be freed from the slavery. Okay. Kautilya also states that if a dasi
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Sir, हम लोगों का there is reference to manumission of slave.
there लिखो, there is reference to the manumission of slaves. There is reference to manumission of slaves on payment of a sum of money. On payment of a sum of money. सम ये वाला सम होगा, ये वाला मत लिखना, ये वाला लिखना है, sum of money. Kautilya also states that if a dasi, Kautilya also states that if a dasi, हाँ वो जो लिखा हुआ अमित सही लिखा हुआ है, जो स्पेस है बस खाली उसको खत्म कर देना, ठीक है. Kautilya also states that if a dasi bore her master a son, if a dasi bore her master a son, she was released from enslavement, and the child was considered the father's legitimate son. And the child was considered the father's legitimate son. Okay. Ashok's Rock Edict 9 mentions courteous behavior towards dasas and bhritakas that is personal servants bracket close as part of dham or dhamma. Okay. The rest, the division of the society, there is no change or no information, extra information is there. Whatever the society we have studied during the 6th century BCE, that will continue. That it will be the continuity of that. So whatever the trading class is there, whatever the merchant class is there, how the society is divided, it is continuing. Only what we are finding is that now the texts are talking about the concept of the slavery. This is the new thing what we find. Okay. So this is as far as this topic is concerned about the society. And now we are going to move towards another topic. Ashoka's Dham. Ashoka's Dham. Now, why this topic is important, or why it is important in the ancient history? First of all, the relevance is that we have, generally all of you would be knowing by this town that there is a misnomer or a concept is there that Ashoka was converted to Buddhism. It is generally said that Ashoka got converted to Buddhism. And why do we say that? Because the actions, temporary and permanent के बाद Amit, is the entire thing left, or you have, or only 1-2 line is left? I will, after the class, I will dictate, okay? After class, let me discuss this first, okay? So basically, has been an understanding, or there has been a thought that Ashoka converted to Buddhism. And why this concept was there? Because the various missions which were sent by Ashoka to various parts of the, not only in the Indian subcontinent, but to other part of the world also, that led to a belief that he converted to Buddhism. This is the one point. Second, the ideas which he inscribed in his inscriptions, in his pillars, they also had some kind of similarity with the Dhamma of the Buddhism. And the third, the most important, many of the Buddhist texts like Divyadan, Mahadan, Ashokvadana, all these texts are giving some kind of direct or indirect references that Ashok converted to Buddhism. This is why this, at the surface level, this debate has arisen. Now when we see and when we try to understand the Ashoka's Dhamma, we see that although there is a bent of ideas towards this philosophy or whatever the ideas which has been given in Buddhism, but when we study it carefully, we don't find it that Ashoka was basically towards propagating the Buddhism. His main agenda was not to propagate the Buddhism, but rather he used the ideas and the philosophies in such a way which could help him to sustain his empire. This is basically what we are going to study. So we will understand that why Dham emerged, Ashoka's Dham, not the Buddha's Dham. Why it emerged, the causes or the factors. Now before we understand the causes and the factor, always see, generally we believe that if any individual, or rather when we study history and what is the difference in the common society, generally we think that whatever an individual is taking or whatever decision an individual takes, in general parlance or in common understanding, we say that it is his own ideas, own beliefs. For example, many students are coming every year for UPSC preparation. Okay. Lots of students, we have one of the choice of subject as in known as optional. And many of you, according to your ideas and your understanding, you take subjects. It may also be that during your graduation you would have read different subject and you would have taken different optional, entirely different stream. So you are from the science background, you are from the engineering background, you are from the tech background, and you are taking public administration, you are taking political science, you are taking sociology, you are taking anthropology. Least is the history. Only the history, those who are studying the history, they are taking the history as a subject. Okay? So why this kind of decision is there? Now if we try to understand that when you had decided to take this decision, was it only your individual decision, or rather whatever the decision which was taken by you, that had some kind of influence of the prevailing society? What can you say? Was it an isolated individual decision, or some role has to play, or some kind of influences the prevailing society, the prevailing time period? Had they some kind of a role or not when you had taken a decision or not? When you are taking the decision, whether you are influenced by it or not. You are definitely influenced by it. Even if you don't agree, you are influenced by it. What can be the exception? The exception is that basically it happens in social science or whatever the subject is there. If that subject is exactly similar, whatever you have studied during your graduation, that subject is entirely similar to your optional, then in that you will try to take. For example, someone has done BA Honors History, so he will try to take History optional. Someone who has done BA Political Science Honor, he will take Pol Science. Similarly, one who has done Sociology, then he will try to take Sociology because he has an upper hand. So this is also some kind of influence, because already you have some kind of understanding, some kind of influence is there. Okay, why I am saying that there is an influence? Because there is a belief that you know the subject and it will be easy for you to understand the subject, understand whatever the nuances are, and you can perform more better. This is the idea. Similarly, when a science student is taking, any science student or a tech student or a BTech student is taking one of the subject, now he has choice. History लूं, sociology लूं, anthropology लूं, PubEd लूं, political science लूं. So he is confused in that. Now how does any candidate takes the decision? सारे अपने जितने भी सीनियर्स हैं उनसे पता करता है, जितने भी आसपास के लोग होते हैं. So this is the one of the factor of influence. This is the one of the influence. अब उसमें फिर क्या होता है? After that he went to any coaching institute. अब coaching institute में he asks that first of all I want to take a mentorship session. I want to talk to some mentor that what optional to take. अब वहां जिसके तरफ में bent होता है, so that mentor will come and now he will understand that what is your mentality. और उसने पहले से डिसाइड कर लिया कि इसको तो मैं PubEd की तरफ खींचूंगा. Or whatever the institute is known or famous for, whatever the ideas is, or whatever mind you have come. So for example, there's a difference between PubEd, public administration, and there's a choice. A student is saying that I will take management optional. Two choices are there, management optional and public administration. Now if you have come to Lukmaan IAS, obviously your ideas will be bent towards, because you will see the record of Ansari sir, you will see the marks, you will go through the previous year, whatever the record is there, so that will influence your ideas. So in the same way, even if Ashok was the emperor, can he be immune with the prevailing social conditions or the political conditions of that time? So that is why in order to understand one of the decision taken by that is the Ashoka's Dhamma, first of all we have to understand the historical conditions which were prevalent in the 6th to 3rd century BCE, or rather the time period of the Ashoka, that is for 3rd to 2nd century BCE. So individual is important in history. Yes, we try to give the nomenclature, we understand the individual through history. That is the basic way of introducing ourselves. But in order to have a proper understanding of the history, we have to understand any individual's prevailing socio-political and the economic condition. Yes, in general parlance you can say that in which context it emerged. In historical sense we say we have to analyze and we have to understand the prevailing socio-political and the economic condition, because that would have favored why we are finding that during this 6th century BC the Brahmanical ideas are at the top. Urbanization has taken place, and at the same time reactionary policies in terms of Buddhism and Jainism and Ajivika are coming into existence, which are trying to reject all the negative impact of this urbanization. At the same time, we are finding that a large empire such as the Mauryan Empire has come into existence. So behind the emergence of this empire, there is also a condition. The reason is that the kind of urbanization which has taken place, it is also contributing towards the rise of the empire. So Mauryan Empire is the result of the urbanization also. And at the same time, Ashoka's idea of the Dhamm is also the reactionary policy of the prevailing socio conditions of that time period. This is basically the idea all of you have to understand, that whenever you are trying to explain any phenomena in history, you cannot just say that it was an individual's decision. Rather, you have to justify that why an individual has taken that decision. And in that you have to draw the source, you have to show in your answer, you have to articulate in your answer that this was the political situation that led to this. This was the economic situation that led to this. This was the economic social situation that led to take this decision. And based upon that, you draw a comprehensive picture and say that we can understand if this thing arose in this time, it was the result of these or the above mentioned processes. That is the way to write down. So first of all, in this regard, we will understand. So first of all, we will understand what is Dhamm. First, we will understand Dhamm. And is this Dhamm and remember, this Dhamm what we are talking about is the Ashoka's Dhamm and not Buddha's Dhamm. Remember that. Okay. So write down the word Dhamm. The word Dhamm is the Prakrit form of the Sanskrit word. The word Dhamm is the Prakrit form of the Sanskrit word Dhamm, Sanskrit word Dharma, Sanskrit word Dharma. Okay. Dhamm has been variously translated. Dhamm has been variously translated as piti, as PT, P-E-P-T, PT, moral life, and rightness, and so on, but the best way to understand what Ashok meant, or what Ashok means or meant by Dhamma is to read his edicts, These edicts were written primarily to explain to the people. These edicts were written primarily to explain to the people throughout the empire, the principles of Dham, to make principles of Dham accessible and understandable to all. He put up edicts. He here basically means Ashok. Okay, he put up edicts or inscriptions at important points throughout the empire, and sent messengers of Dham outside the empire. Now we will understand the historical, write down subheading, historical background for the emergence of Dham. Historical background for the emergence of Ashok's Dham. First point, socio-economic background. First is the socio-economic background. The Mauryan period witnessed a change in the economic structure of the society. The Mauryan period witnessed a change in the economic structure of the society with the use of iron, use of iron resulting in surplus production, a changeover took place from a simple rural economy to a pattern of economy in which cities and towns played an important role. The use of punch marked silver coins, comma, the use of punch marked silver coins, comma, the conscious intervention of the state to safeguard trade routes, the conscious intervention of the state to safeguard the trade routes, and the rise of urban center, urban centers points to a structural change in the economy which required necessary adjustment in the society, The commercial classes had also come to the forefront, which demanded a more flexible social organization. The incorporation of tribes and peoples from outlying areas into the social fabric also presented a problem. The rigidity of the Brahmanical social order sharpened the divisions within the society. This led to the turning of lower social orders towards various heterodox sects and created social tensions. It was this situation which Emperor Ashok inherited when he ascended the Mauryan throne. So this is the situation. This is the socio-economic situation. Now what do we find? When we talk about Buddha, by seeing the 4 situations of a sick person, of an ascetic person, that idea influenced him to move towards or to take the life of the asceticism. And now here is Ashok. So can we say that the 2 situations are similar? What is the situation of the socio conditions which is prevalent in the Ashoka's time? He is himself a Raja, but what he is finding that earlier there is one social order, that is a Brahmanical social order, and everyone is following that. So when everyone is following that, there is no issue related to that. Nothing, no problem will come. But now what we are finding, these ideas have emerged and there is rise of new classes, new demands are getting generated, and now he is the king. And the challenge is that he has to create an all India empire. So he will have to devise some kind of mechanism through which he can consolidate all these people into one rule. So this is the one factor, or this is the one of the situation which is leading him to develop this idea of Ashoka's Dhamma. So first of all is the socio and the economic situation. There is a difference with respect to Buddha and with respect to Ashok. This is the first thing. Okay. बुद्धा अशोक के टाइम में कहां पे है? क्या? See, Buddha seeing the 4 situations. What were the 4 situations? बताओ क्या थे 4 situations which forced Buddha to leave his palace life and move towards what? Yes. So he followed the path of asceticism. What were the 4 situations? Or ascetic person, seeing an ascetic person, another, and a diseased person. So what he has seen, these 4 situations helped him or generated in him the idea that even if I am living in a palace, shall I be immune from all these things? These were the precursors to Buddha. Now, before to that, Brahmanical order is already there. Okay. Now Buddha comes. Now he started giving his teachings. Similarly, at the same time, we are finding the emergence of the Jainism. All these things are are there, and now they are creating a variety of socio-economic problem. Now, what is that variety of socio-economic problem? As the new classes are rising and they are migrating towards the Buddhism and the Jainism. So what we find is that, see, what a Raja has to do, he has to rule the society. And if the society will not agree to bring or to accept anyone as a ruler or his Raja, will they give him the tribute or the taxes? When no taxes will be there, then how can Raja will maintain an army? And then the entire concept of the politics, it will not be there. So Brahmanism, then the advent of the Buddha, it created a situation. And in that situation, Ashok came. So now he has to tackle that situation. So this, what we are telling about, what you are getting confused is that the situation, it arose, and here it was already prevailing. This is the difference. It was generated here, and here it was already prevailing, and now Ashok as a king, he has to take some kind of decision that how do I consolidate my empire? How do I make? If I will try to propagate only the ideas of the Brahmanical order, only section of the people will follow me. What about the other heterodox people? They are not going to accept me. So in order to come out with that, he is also seeing that there are certain problems within the Brahmanical order also. And there are certain problems in the Buddhism and the Jainism also. If everyone is going to becoming an ascetic person, then who will do the agriculture? If agriculture is not, then no taxes will be there. When there is no taxes, how can one maintain his empire? So he has to tackle this problem also. So within this Brahmanism and within this Buddhism and the Jainism, he is devising one kind of idea so that everyone can live under his rule. This is basically the Ashoka's Dham. That will get more clear when we move towards. This is the first, we are understanding the socio roots only. Okay. Now the religious condition. The religious condition. The Brahmanical hold over the society, the Brahmanical hold over the society built through later Vedic period, built through later Vedic period, was coming under increasing attack, the opposition of the commercial class, and the lower orders gave a fillip to other sections of a society.
Sir, can you repeat after the opposition?
Okay. The Brahmanical hold over society built through later Vedic period was coming under attack. The opposition of the commercial class, and the lower orders gave a fillip to other sects of the society, gave a fillip to other sects of the society. The basic tenet of Buddhism, the basic tenet of Buddhism was an emphasis on middle path, Buddhism opposed the dominance of the Brahmanas and the concept of sacrifices and rituals. It thus appealed to the lower orders and to the emerging social class or social classes. So this is the religious condition of that time period. Okay, in the background this situation is going on. Now the political situation. We have already read that the Mahajanpadas of the 6th century BCE marked a beginning of the state system in many parts of India. By the time Ashok ascended the throne, the state system over a period of time had grown very elaborate and complex. The complexity of the state system demanded an imaginative policy from the emperor which would entail minimal use of force in such a large empire having diverse forms of economic and religious systems. minimal use of force in such a large empire, having diverse form of economic and religious systems. It could not have been controlled. It could not have been controlled by the army alone. By the army alone. A more feasible alternative was the propagation of a policy that would work at an ideological level, and reach out to all sections of society, the policy of Dham was such an endeavor. Okay, so basically we have to understand the emergence of the Ashoka's policy of Dham within this socio-economic political background, in which only the use of force was not suitable to consolidate or to establish an empire which was having such kind of diversity in terms of religion, in terms of ideas, in terms of professions. Okay, because if you use army, what is the maximum thing? Maybe you will be able to control it for a one day or for some moment of time, and it is only a moment of game or a chance that till you are at a higher level, and it can be, anytime it can be overturned, the situation can be overturned. So basically Ashoka thought, or this Ashoka's Dhamma was basically to consolidate his entire empire under one rule. Okay, so this is the background. Do not consider it as the factor. This is the prevailing socio-economic political background which the Ashok, or if someone is asking you that what was the prevailing socio-economic condition for the emergence of Ashoka's Dhamma, this is the situation. Okay, now we will identify and understand the causes or the factors for Dhamma.
Sir, but how did Brahmans accept the dominance, under meaning of the dominance Dhamma practice?
Why the Brahmanas?
Why Brahmanas didn't oppose under meaning of their dominance?
See, it doesn't mean that they were not giving opposition to all these emergence of the Jainism and the Buddhism. It is only a moment of time. Till the Ashoka, Chandragupta, Bindusar, and then what we are finding is the Ashok, we are finding that they are giving these ideas, or they are giving some kind of patronage to the Buddhism and the Jainism. This doesn't mean that they were not favoring the Brahmanism also. They were giving the equal amount of respect to the Brahmanical ideas also. There were people who were following the lay person. When we studied the Buddhism, there were Sangh members and there were lay person. Many lay persons were there who were following the idea of the Brahmanical society, but they were not following the Brahmanical rigidity. So that is the reason. And after some point of time, it is that reason that the Mauryan Empire came to a decline. That it was killed by one of the general of the of the Mauryan army itself. So there was some kind of opposition, but it is only a moment of time when you are at the helm of power. Here the situation at the top was, and basically here around this time the Buddhism and Jainism, largely they are egalitarian ideas. And Brahmanical ideas by this time they have become dogmatic in nature. So whenever you become dogmatic in your ideas, now you will say, for example, if you are the district collector, and now you are not giving to your employees some kind of liberties, some kind of favors. So they will start back bitching in behind of you. And the moment they will find some opportunity, they will tell you ki nahi, he is very bad, let him get posted out of this district as soon as possible. So same is the way. So once you lose the egalitarian character of your society, why you can understand why this Buddhism and the Jainism emerged in this period, not in the later Vedic period and in the early Vedic period. Why they emerged in this period only? Because earlier Brahmanical ideas were also egalitarian in their approach and their ideas. They were egalitarian so that they were, and that is why the society developed and emerged. And when in the later Vedic period and after that when they become dogmatic in their nature, the response was Buddhism and the Jainism. The process is going on as it is same. There is a cause and there is an action. That action leads to cause and that cause generates an action. This is the same thing which is going on in the entire history. Is it clear? So now we will study the causes for the emergence of Ashoka's Dham. Okay? Causes. Causes for the emergence of Ashoka's Dham. While understanding the causes, for the policy of Dham, first we have to understand the immediate factors. In the factor you can write down the prevailing or the immediate socio-political conditions in which Ashok grew up and influenced him in later years of his life. First point, immediate factors में first point. The Mauryan kings are known to have adopted an eclectic outlook or egalitarian outlook. Chandragupta took recourse to Jainism, took recourse to Jainism in his later years, and Bindusar favored the Ajivikas. So what we find, that already Chandragupta is getting diverse towards the idea of Jainism, while Bindusar, he is getting influenced towards the idea of the Ajivikas. So it was quite natural, a social thing was there, that Ashok, two options were there. Either he could have migrated toward Brahmanism, or either he migrated toward Buddhism. This is a two probability. Now we will understand towards reaching that conclusion of the probability. Second point. By the time Ashok ascended the throne, the imperial system had become a complex phenomena. The imperial system encompassed various cultures, beliefs, and socio-political patterns, Ashok had to either maintain the structure by force. Ashok had to either maintain the structure by force, which would have incurred tremendous expenses, or define a set of social norms which would be acceptable to all, cutting across all social practices, and religious beliefs. Ashok found his answer in the policy of Dham. So now among these ideas, what we are finding? Now we have two ideas. One is the Brahmanical idea, another is the Buddhist ideas. This is the one thing. Now what is happening? Now Brahmanical ideas, it is not favoring the trade, not of the money economy. But the situation The background situation is that the society is getting divided into numerous strata. Various new classes are coming into existence. Urbanization is coming into existence. Now there is an emperor, Ashok. And he has to accommodate this society also, the demand of this society also, and the demand generated by this society also. So that is leading him to come out with a new idea of Dhamma. So here till now we are clear that Ashoka's Dhamma is not similar to this, at least Brahmanical ideas. Now we are left with one choice, Buddhism. Now we will try to understand that whether Ashoka's Dhamma and the Buddha's Dhamma, are they similar or are they equal, or is there any kind of differences or not, or similarity is there. Why Brahmanical ideas is out of the game? Is it clear now? Okay. Now move ahead. Ashok, next point. Ashok was aware of the tensions which the rise of heterodox sects had generated in the society. They were all opposed to the domination of the Brahmanas in some way or other. They were all opposed to the domination of Brahmanas in some way or other. In this situation, Brahmanas hostility or hostility was inevitable. Brahmanas hostility was inevitable. In this context, it was essential to bring about a climate of harmony and mutual trust in a situation like this. Is this point clear? What is being suggested? Tell me.
So the heterodox sect will emerging because of the dominance of the Brahmins and their sacrifices and rituals. They were all opposed to the Brahmanical rituals. So that's why they emerged. And for that rising hostility between Brahmins and those heterodox sects,
mutual trust. So and that is the Ashoka's Dhamma. Okay, there was a need to. So obviously we can imagine that one of the question which you have asked, that whether it invited the Brahmanas hostility or not, it invited. It was there. But now the challenge was before the emperor that he has to accommodate all these people within this idea. Now it is also giving us a clue that Ashoka's Dhamma was not similar to the Buddha's Dhamma. It is also giving us some kind of idea, because he has to accommodate all these people within a one fold. And now if he just will try to take, then it will invite further more action of the Brahmanas. More hostility will be generated, that if Ashok will try to take the ideas entirely from the Buddhism. Okay. So this is the immediate conditions which the Ashoka had generated. Now we will study the content of the Dhamma. Now we will study the content of Dhamma. Now we have understood the entire challenges which the Ashoka was facing. Now while reading this, your idea will get clear that what was exactly Ashoka's Dhamma and how we have to visualize and understand the Ashoka's Dhamma. That whether there is any kind of relationship between Ashoka's Dhamma and the Buddhist Dhamma. Was it a policy for the propagation and the expansion of Buddhism, or was it a policy to maintain some kind of social order within the empire? This will get clear when you study the content of the Dhamma. Okay, so write down the contents of the Dhamma. The principles of Dhamma, were so formulated as to be acceptable to people belonging to different communities and followers of any religious sect. Belonging to different communities and followers of any religious sect. Dhamma was not given any formal definition or structure. Dhamma was not given any formal definition or structure. Now this is one of the most qualitative thing a leader has in itself. That you generate such kind of ideas within the society, you bring out or you come out with such an idea and you don't give it a formal explanation or a formal definition. Then this kind of idea helps you to, allows you to generate or give an idea of interpretation to every section of the society. And in that way, everyone thinks that my interpretation is right. Every section thinks that my interpretation is right. And in this way, they get associated or get around one of the personality. This is one of the strongest and the mechanism leadership method you should learn. Because this is, all of you have to do the leadership only. Tomorrow when you are going to become officers, you have to do this thing only. That for example, you have to rule in such a way, you have to make the policy in such a way that it is acceptable to everyone. So that is the way. Similarly, when we will study the modern India, we will see that how Gandhi defined the Swaraj. So he didn't give any formal definition of Swaraj. And in that way, every section of the society, they interpreted the Swaraj in this way. And Gandhiji, yes, you were right. Yes, you were right. You are also right, you are also right, you are also right. And in that way, everyone will sing. And that is why Gandhi emerged as a mass leader. And this is also the idea that why Ashok becomes such a great leader. This is the result of that. his own idea, and he allowed that much space so that everyone can have an life, or everyone can think that whatever I am interpreting is what the emperor is thinking. So this is some kind of habit you should learn and develop within yourself. Okay. It emphasized, so Dhamma was not given any formal definition or structure. It emphasized on toleration and general behavior. It emphasized on toleration and general behavior. Dhamma stressed on dual toleration. Dhamma stressed on dual toleration. It emphasized on toleration of people themselves. It emphasized on toleration of people themselves, and also toleration and also toleration of their views and ideas, towards other sect. So now is it clear that basically what he is emphasizing? Ki okay, even if you are of Brahmanical idea, have a policy of toleration, tolerate yourself also, and at the same time give respect to the ideas of other also. Similarly, he is telling, so he is not biased towards Buddhism, he is not biased towards Jainism, but he is giving that everyone who is a part of the Mauryan Empire should develop a policy of toleration. That if you are having, okay, it is very much good that you pride in yourself, but that pride should not be at that level that you try to disrespect someone else. That should not be there. So this is the Ashoka's Dhamma. So do we find any kind of ideas like this in the Buddhist philosophy? So in that way it is different. Okay. There is a stress on the notion of showing consideration towards slaves and servants, So in the Brahmanical order, the most disregarded class and the people, even Ashoka's ideas say that you should respect these people also. So it will also make them to follow the Raja. That develops also some kind of paternalistic ideas. This is the one thing. There is stress also on obedience to elders. There is also stress on obedience to elders. Most common thing it is. We all expect that whenever you are, even if you in present time also, right from your childhood time, बड़ों का respect करो, है ना? So all these things is there. Generosity towards the needy. दुखिया को दान दो. Okay. Generosity towards the needy. That is the Brahmanas and the Shramanas. So both. Basically what? So the Brahmanic ascetic and these heterodox ideas ascetic. He is saying that you should respect all these people. One should respect all these people and help them. Basically, when they are coming for alms, you should give them alms. This is the thing. Ashoka also pleaded for tolerance of different religious sects in an attempt to create a sense of harmony. Next point. The policy of Dham also included stress on non-violence. Now this is the idea. This was the point which has always the Buddhist text, the biasness is reflected, that they are saying that as the idea of non-violence was given by Buddha and it was also propagated by Ashok, so that is why he had converted to Buddhism. But is it true? The idea of non-violence has been there in all of the philosophies. Rather, even in the Upanishad also we will find this idea of non-violence. Even in the Jainism also we find this idea of non-violence. So we cannot say that only merely the term is given, then it would be the Jagirdari of the Buddhism. The term non-violence is the Jagirdari of the Buddhism. Not exactly as per se. And now what was basically non-violence in the context of Dhamma, we will understand it. Okay. Non-violence was to be practiced by giving up war and conquest including animal sacrifices. So non-violence in the context of the Jainism and especially the Buddhism was the result of the killing of the cattle, the sacrifice of the cattle. But in the context of Ashoka, it was not limited merely towards the sacrifices of the animals, but it was more towards the warfare. Placing a limit on the warfare activities was the policy of non-violence, which was being suggested by Ashoka's Dhamma. So you don't adopt the method of war, rather you adopt the method of the peace. Now this idea that non-violence should be adopted and war should not be taken away or war should not be taken had led to a belief that Ashoka disbanded his army. So do you think that it is possible for a political emperor to do this? Is it possible? The only thing is that you will not take the conquest. You will limit in terms of conquest. But if someone is trying to challenge your authority, will you not take the conquest or not? And the situation is such that by this time, when Ashoka has ascended the throne, by the time the entire subcontinent was leaving this part, the Kerala Putra and the Chera Putras, the entire subcontinent was under the control of the Mauryan Empire. So there was nothing left. So when there is nothing left, for what purpose you are doing to go conquest? Ab kya samundar mein jaoge? So you have nothing left. Now you have to consolidate. Always the policy and the phase of expansion whenever in history, not only in the ancient India, in the medieval period also you will study that whenever you are following the policy of the expansion, then you adopt an aggressive policy. And whenever you are in the phase of consolidation, you try to implement what kind of policy? What will be the word? Accommodative policy. You will try to take accommodative policy, that you accommodate everyone. You make your ideas, you make your philosophies, you make your principles in such a manner that you give scope to every space of the society. This is the all you have to remember, that whenever the phase of expansion will be there, there is aggressive policy. And whenever there will be a policy or a phase of consolidation, then the policy will be accommodative in nature. So this is the reason. Now they are saying that after, there is a reason given that after the Kaling War, and that all of you would be knowing till now, that after the Kaling War and seeing the bloodshed, that melted the Ashoka's heart. But rather the practicality is that that was the only region which was left during the time of Ashok. That was the only region left which was not under the control of the Mauryan Empire. And when once it was brought, then in order to accommodate, he has to adopt a practical policy. तो ये तो वही बात हो गया ना कि 100 चूहे खाकर बिल्ली चली हज को. So this is not the thing. This is not the thing. Rather, nothing was left to conquer. So that is why he get inclined to, now he has to consolidate. So all his counselors would have given him the idea that what to do, how to maintain. Such a large empire, at that point of time, you are in the Magad. And sometime if there is any kind of, action is there. And if you maintain hostile attitude toward all your followers, अब मान लो कि क्लास में आप एक हो और अपने सारे दोस्तों के साथ बात नहीं करते हो, you don't have a good relation with all. How much time, and for some time if you need anything, then do you expect that they are going to help you? It will generally be not. So a king, when he is in the phase of consolidation, he will not try to follow an expansionist policy, aggressive policy, and a hostile attitude. He has to develop an idea, he has to develop an thinking where everyone, because what you can achieve through goodwill, you cannot achieve through the use of force. You can make someone your murid out of love, but not out of anger. In anger, you may be able to keep it for 1 day, for 2 days. If that person will find another opportunity, he will definitely come out of that thing and go somewhere else. Okay? So this is the thing. So जब अपने कल को जब ऑफिसर्स बनोगे और जब काम अगर रात के बाद ऑफिस टाइम के बाद में भी कराना होगा, तो एम्प्लॉयज से बहुत अच्छे से बात करना है. कुछ भी खाना खिलाओ, चाय पिलाओ, उसको थोड़ा सा हवा में पंप मार दो, तुम्हारे जैसा कोई है ही नहीं काम करने वाला, तुम्ही से तो सब कुछ चल रहा है. तो जब उससे काम कराना होगा, और नॉर्मल टाइम में अपने डिसिप्लिन रहो, बट डोंट मेंटेन एन हॉस्टाइल एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड्स योर एम्प्लॉयज. दिस इज व्हाट इट इज बीइंग सजेस्टेड. ओके, सो अंडरस्टैंड दिस पॉइंट. So basically, the Ashoka's Dhamma policy is reflects the practical needs of the time. It is not a religion, it is not a religious idea, rather a practical philosophy and a practical policy in order to maintain one individual's rule. That is the crux of the entire Ashoka's idea. Okay? So, next paragraph. The policy of Dham also included certain welfare measures like planting of trees, certain welfare measures like planting of trees, digging wells, etc. Ashok attacked ceremonies and sacrifices practiced regularly on various occasions as meaningless. A group of officers known as the Dhamm Mahamatas were instituted to implement and publicize the various aspects of Dhamma. Now, if the Ashoka's idea of Dhamm was similar to the Buddhist ideas of Dhamm, then why did he needed to create a separate group of officers called as the Dhamma Matas? He could have done it through the Sangh method also. The Sangh was already in existence. The Sangh order of the Buddhists, which the Buddha himself has inaugurated, has led the creation. Then if the ideas of the Ashoka's Dhamma was just to propagate the idea of the Buddhism, why did he created another class of officers? And that class of officers would definitely have some kind of impact on the treasury. And if the only idea was to propagate the idea of Buddhism, the Sangh order was already there. He could have utilized the help of the Sangh order, which were much more consolidated, much more planned in their nature. So this also gives us an evidence that it was not similar, or the main agenda was not to propagate the ideas of the Buddhism. Yes, Ashoka played certain role in the propagation of Buddhism. There is no doubt in that. But the point to say that he converted to Buddhism and Ashoka's Dhamm was similar to, or rather what is Buddha's Dhamm is similar to Ashoka's Dhamm, we cannot accept that in totality. Ideas may be similar. And why ideas may be similar? Reason is that an individual is always influenced by the prevailing socio-economic condition of his time period. And in that he takes the decision. So that is the result. We will find that some of the ideas which is reflected in the Ashoka's Dhamma, they have some kind of moorings from the Arthashastra also. Some kind of ideas from the Brahmanical ideas also. So we cannot say that it was entirely based upon the philosophies and the ideas of the Buddhism. Rather, it was a practical approach taken from wherever the emperor find that it is suitable, he took that ideas and developed it in own ideas. That is Ashoka's Dhamm. Okay. Next point. Rock Edict 13. Rock Edict 13 is of paramount importance in understanding the policy of Dhamm, because it is a testament against the war, Ashok embarked on the policy of Dham after this war. Ashoka's Dham was not simply a collection of high sounding phrases He very consciously tried to adopt it as a matter of state policy, for he declared that, now write down within quotes, all men are my children. All men are my children, and whatever exertion I make, I strive only to discharge the debt that I owe to all living creatures. Let me repeat again. All men are my children. And whatever exertion I make, I strive only to discharge the debt that I owe to all living creatures. This was a totally new and inspiring ideal of kingship, which was not known in the ancient world except Ashok's idea. So basically, this Ashoka's ideas of Dhamma, it is unique in its sense. If we study the other Brahmanical ideas and other philosophies, it doesn't, at that point of time, it doesn't portrays that there was any obligation upon the king to do the duty towards the masses. A debt was not recognized. It was rather said that as the kings were the child of the gods, as they were chosen by the gods, so it is the responsibility of the praja to follow the order and accept him as the king. Okay, like for example in the Mahabharata, when Bhishma is lying in the beds of arrows and Krishna advises Yudhishthir to go and understand the concept of the notionship, which is given in one of the section of the Mahabharata, that is the idea of the kingship given in the Suvarna Prabha Sottam Sutra. In this sutra, Bhishma talks that how the origin of kingship took place. And then there is a mythical story around. So even if we understand that, it basically says that the king rather the responsibility lies upon the praja. The crux of that idea is the responsibility lies upon the praja and not upon the king. The main center is that the praja has always to do the thing. They have to agree, they have to pay the debt, they have to pay the taxes, they have to follow the orders which has been, whatever the rule which is being made by the king, they have to follow. But now here in the king's Ashok ideas, we find a different idea. At least in terms of saying, we know that in practical, this was the only reality, that every time the praja has to do everything. But at least भाषण देने के मामले में तो he had some kind of different idea in terms of propagation. So this is some kind of different thing, at least we are finding in the Indian history with the Ashok. Okay. Next point. Ashok renounced war. Ashok renounced war and conquest by violence and forbade the killing of animals since he wanted to conquer the world, through love and faith, he sent many missions to propagate Dhamma. Okay. So this is all regarding the content of the Dhamma. Many missions were sent. Now, what is your understanding now? If I will ask you that, can you tell me one or two point or one strong or solid points to highlight the differences between the Buddhist Dhamma and the Ashoka's Dhamma? What point you can make? Toleration is there in Buddhist philosophy also. Yes. If you think that these are similar, then give the point for similarity. And if you think that it is dissimilar, then give the point of dissimilarity. Online students, you are also invited to the debate. If the question is that examine the relationship between Ashoka's Dham and the Buddhist Dham, then how you will answer this question?
So the difference can be Buddhism में जो non-violence और that is related to animal sacrifice, and Ashoka's Dhamma it is related to warfare or conflict.
Not exactly. Non-violence में भी towards humans भी है. Even it is towards humans. ऐसा point देना है जिसको मैं काट ना सकूं. हाँ हाँ. नहीं तो दो ना ऐसा point जो कि कोई काट ना सके.
Ashoka was trying to safeguard his kingship or his state from the complexities of the emerging time. And what Buddha gave was a type of ideology or philosophy to help those who were suffering from the Brahmanica. They're both of them have different contexts. Ashoka was trying to show that he is an able king.
There is a point in Buddhism and Jainism that these emerged basically that the Brahmanical ideas were at the top side in the fourfold Varna system. And this Buddhism and the Jainism, they advocated that the Kshatriya should be at the top side. So there is an inherent biasness in these ideas. So there is similar in the Ashoka's ideas that he is trying to project his rule and trying to safeguard his rule. He is also trying to safeguard his rule. He is also trying to safeguard his ideas, his position. What is the difference then?
Sir, there were so many people talking to only Ashoka himself was trying to.
Hey, what you are saying, the important point is that someone is trying to safeguard himself, safeguard his rule, his position, his authority. Similarly, we find in the Buddhism and the Jainism also.
सर अभी आपने कहा था कि बुद्धिज्म और जैनिज्म और ब्राह्मणिकल टाइम में अगर सभी लोग मोक्ष पाने के लिए अगर संघ में चले जाए तो कौन सा
Yes, in terms of philosophy. In terms of philosophy. This is the first point. The Buddhist doctrine and the Dhamma, basically it is towards the moksha. Do we find the idea of moksha in the Ashoka's Dhamma? So that is the one core difference is in terms of the philosophy behind. Philosophy of the Ashoka's idea is to maintain the social order. While the Buddhism and the Jainism at this point of time is to attain moksha. Even the Brahmanical ideas, the Upanishad, they are also saying about the moksha. So this is the first point of difference. अब ऐसा point होना चाहिए जो कि कोई काट ना सके. Second point. कोई और point?
Sir, we talked about religion, Buddhism, and Jainism. But Ashoka did not talk about.
ऐसा तो नहीं है. कुछ भी मतलब. बताओ. Anyone? A point which you can highlight as the difference. Or if you think it is similar, then what is the point of similarity? Similarity में तो कई सारे points आ जाएंगे. Non-violence, tolerance, all these things are there.
Sir,
Yes, tell.
sir, there is even violence, then even they put the Kshatriya in the first in the hierarchy now. In Buddhism.
In?
Sir, but in Ashoka's Dhamma, in Buddhism, sir, वो क्षत्रिय को पहले like hierarchy में पहले like ब्राह्मण से पहले ऊपर रख रहे थे ना sir.
Yes.
But in this one Ashoka's Dhamma, everyone is like same like some.
No, this is not as such. This is not as such that Ashoka's idea is suggesting that there should be a varna-less or a class-less society. He is not suggesting, Ashoka is not suggesting such kind of idea that the society should be varna-less or class-less or there should not be division. He is not saying that. When the idea is to maintain the social order, how one can accept, will not follow the idea of that time period. This is the reason why when Buddhism and the Jainism, they emerged, they even were not able to come out of this idea of the varnaless or the classless society. It was not possible at that time. So it is not a right interpretation. Ashok sent Dhamma Mahamatas, whereas the Buddhism had the Sangh for the propagation of ideas. So even Ashok has sent many missions for the propagation of Buddhism also. Ashok had sent many missions for the propagation of Buddhism also. Varsha, what you have told is basically, you have not articulated it properly. You want to say that Ashok has instituted a new institution of Dhamma Mahamatas. We have studied it right now. Ashok had instituted the new institution of Dhamma Mahamatas for the propagation of Dhamm, while for the propagation of the ideas of the Buddhism, it was the Sangh. So two different institutions are there. Two different institutions are there. This is the second point. So the first point is in the difference of their philosophy, of the Ashoka's ideas and the Buddhist ideas. And the second is the institution. While we have in the Ashoka's Dhamm, we have the institution of the Dhamma Mahamatas, while in the Buddhism, we have the evidence of what? Sangh. For the propagation of Buddhist order, we have the Sangh. Okay? This is the second point. Third,
Views of the Buddhism and Jainism were talking about separation from the Brahmanical tradition and this, but Ashoka was talking about inclusiveness.
yes. So that comes in the philosophy and the ideas. That is a generic term. Within that philosophy, the word philosophy or what the idea, whatever you suggest, that is in terms of ideas, that will automatically come under the philosophy. So two types of differences are there. One is the philosophy and the second is the institution. These are the two strongest points which shows the difference between the Buddhism idea and the Ashoka's Dhamma. Buddhist Dhamm and the Ashoka's Dhamm. These are the two strongest points. If you have to mention, the first is the philosophy and the second is the institution. Okay? Now, write down three strong. The point what we are right now we are going to discuss is the relationship between Buddhist Dhamm and the Ashoka's Dhamm. Relationship between Buddha's Dhamm or Buddhist Dhamm and the Ashoka's Dhamm. And here I am just giving you the differences, okay? Because similarity we have already done. Similarities it has already been done. There are three strong ideas. There are three strong arguments or ideas. Arguments or ideas both will work. There are three strong arguments or ideas to prove that Ashok as an emperor did not favor Buddhism, or his Dhamm was not similar to Buddhist Dhamm. They are they are was not similar to Buddhist Dham. They are first differences in terms of ideas or philosophies. Differences in terms of ideas or philosophies. While Buddhist ideas, the main goal was to attain nibbana, the main goal of Ashoka's Dham, was to maintain the social order, within the empire. Second point, institution of Dhamma Mahamatas. Institution of Dhamma Mahamatas. Ashoka's creation of the institution of the Ashoka's creation of the institution of the Dhamma Mahamatas. Ashoka's creation of the institution of the Dhamma Mahamatas convincingly proves that Ashok's Dham did not favor any particular religion or religious doctrine. If that would have been the case, Ashok could have utilized the organization of Sangh, that is a Buddhist Sangh, to propagate Dham. Next point. Ideas from rock edicts. Ideas from rock edict. Ideas from rock edict. A careful study a careful study of the rock edicts depicts that Ashok wanted to promote tolerance and respect for all religious sects and the duty of the Dhamma Mahamatas included working for the Brahmanas and the Shramanas. All these points, next paragraph, all these points make it clear that the policy of Dhamm was not the policy of a heretic, but a system of beliefs created out of different religious faiths, Ashoka's Dhamm apart from being a document of essential humanness, was also an answer to the socio-political needs of the contemporary situation. This was not anti-Brahmanical. is proved by the fact that respect for the Brahmanas and Shramanas is an integral part of his dham, His emphasis on non-violence does not blinds him to the needs of the state, thus addressing the forest tribes, he warns them that although he hates to use coercion, he may be required to resort to force if they continue to create trouble, by the time Ashok stopped war, the entire Indian subcontinent was under his control. The plea for tolerance was a wise course of action. In an ethnically diverse religiously varied and class divided society. Ashoka's empire was a conglomerate of was a conglomerate of diverse groups, was a conglomerate of diverse group. In this situation, a plea for tolerance was the need of the hour, Ashok tried to transcend the parochial cultural traditions. Ashok tried to transcend the parochial cultural tradition by a broad set of ethical principles. By a broad set of ethical principles. So, this is the entire understanding of the Ashoka's Dhamma, the situation, the socio-political situations which prevailed at that time, the factors which influenced Ashok immediately, the content of the Dhamma, and how we should visualize and understand the Dhamma. Okay. Now, after this is the most important part as far as your prelims examination is concerned. All of you have to remember this distribution of the Ashoka's inscription. So, it is given in the class 12th NCERT. So, you should know. In the yesterday class, we have learnt about the classification of the Ashokan inscription, that how they are classified. Pillar edict and rock edict, and now the pillar edict and the rock edict are further classified into major and minor, and then we have some kind of cave inscription also. Okay, so this class 12th NCERT, you should know that at which places all these inscriptions are located and the present in which state they are located. So the area where the major, minor and the pillar inscriptions are found, where they are located and situated, that you should know. So you should carefully read. Apart from this, also you should develop some ideas how to arrange them from north to south, south to north, or east to west, or west to east. This type of logical question can also be asked. So, so in that way, all of you have to understand and read this map. Okay?
So, Kerala puts Chola और Pandyas को इनके umpire में included
नहीं, they are outside to that.
तो फिर entire subcontinent को क्या?
जब इतना सब बच गया तो फिर इंटायर सबकॉन्टिनेंट क्या है? कोई लॉजिक इसमें बचता है? जब इतना पूरा आ ही गया, जहां पे भी कि स्टेट सोसाइटी जब इतना हो गया, तो इसके लिए हम क्या कहेंगे? एंड इट इज नॉट दैट they were given the freedom to rule according to themselves. It doesn't mean that they were not accepting the suzerainty of the Ashokan Empire or of the Mauryan Empire. They had accepted the overlordship. They were only just free in terms of their internal administration. They had accepted the overlordship of the Mauryan Empire. So that is why we say the entire subcontinent. Okay. Now, one more thing is left. हाँ, अब हो गया, आज तो खत्म हो गया ना, अब तो खत्म हो गया, हमारा खत्म हो गया, GS1 खत्म है, GS1 हिस्ट्री खत्म है, हिस्ट्री खत्म है. So what, only one thing is left that I will give you. You will now write down that where these states are located, where these inscriptions are located. Okay, just one thing is left that we will do right now. Okay,
आपको जो क्लासेस कराते थे फिर से स्टार्ट कर दें
कौन सा?
मैथ
हाँ, वो अब से स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, अगले संडे से वो स्टार्ट हो जाएगा, PYQ और मैथ वाला दोनों क्लासेस स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. Okay, so distribution of Ashokan inscription. So the first category will be the 14 major rock edict. First, okay, 14 major rock edict. So first is the Kandhar. Your Kandhar. First is Kandhar. This. So we are studying about Kandhar. It is in Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Then we have Shah Bas Garahi. Shah Bas Garahi. It is in Peshawar district. Peshawar district of Pakistan. Then we have Mansehra. 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 Hazara district, Pakistan. Hazara district, Pakistan. Then we have Kalsi. Kalsi. Dehradun district, Uttarakhand. Kalsi. Dehradun district, Uttarakhand. Girnar. Girnar. Junagadh district, Gujarat. Girnar, Junagadh district, Gujarat. Sopara, Sopara, Thane district, Maharashtra. Then यहाँ पे नहीं दिया हुआ है. We have Dholi. Write down Dholi. DH. Dholi. Dholi. There is also an rock edict is there. Okay. It is in Puri district, Odisha. Dhori. Dholi. Puri district. Puri. Puri. Then we have Jogara district. Jogara district, which is in, sorry, Jogara edict, and it is in Ganjam district, Odisha. Ganjam district, Odisha. Then we have Eragudi. 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 Kurnool district, Andhra Pradesh. Kurnool district. Kurnool district, Andhra Pradesh. And then we have this Sannati. Sannati. It is in Gulbarg district, Karnataka. Okay. Gulbarg district. एरागुडी कुर्नूल डिस्ट्रिक्ट आंध्र प्रदेश. कुर्नूल. So we have done with the major rock edict. Now we will deal with the minor rock edict. इसमें 10 नहीं है. इसमें पॉइंट ये है कि कई कई जगह पे यहाँ पे दो अवेलेबल हैं. Many area is there where we find 2 और sometimes नहीं 2 ही मैक्सिमम है. कई सारे ऐसे जगह है जहाँ पे कि दो एडिक्ट हमें देखने को मिलते हैं. तो काउंट टोटल मिला के होता है 14 बट प्लेसेस हैं 10. Remember this. Okay. राइट डाउन माइनर के बारे में. बहापुर. माइनर इज द बहापुर. बहापुर. इट इज इन श्रीनिवासपुरी in New Delhi. Srinivasapuri in New Delhi. Yes, Srinivasapuri, New Delhi. Then we have Bairat. Jaipur district, Rajasthan. Jaipur district, Rajasthan. We have Aharaura. Mirzapur district, UP. Aharaura, Mirzapur district, UP. Then we have Sasaram. Rohtas district, Bihar. सासाराम. ये स्पेलिंग गलत लिखा हुआ है. इट इज सासाराम. सासाराम होता है. हाँ बिहार का डिस्ट्रिक्ट है वो. यस राइट डाउन सासाराम. ऐसे सासाराम. देन वी हैव गुज्जरा. Then we have Gujjara. Sasaram is it in Rohtas district, Bihar. लॉलीपॉप लागेलू गाना नहीं सुना है. गुजरा that is in Datia district, Madhya Pradesh. दतिया डिस्ट्रिक्ट मध्य प्रदेश. देन वी हैव रूपनाथ. रूपनाथ नहीं दिया हुआ है इसमें. रूपनाथ जबलपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट MP. जबलपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट MP. पनगुररिया. और पंगुररिया. सीहोर डिस्ट्रिक्ट मध्य प्रदेश. सीहोर डिस्ट्रिक्ट मध्य प्रदेश. मास्की. इट इज इन रायचूर डिस्ट्रिक्ट कर्नाटका. गवीमत. इसमें ये दिया हुआ है प्लेस. बट यहां पे हम पिलर इंस्क्रिप्शन के बारे में बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. हम रॉक एडिक्ट के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. देयर आर मेनी प्लेसेस वेयर पिलर एडिक्ट आर ऑल्सो देयर and rock edicts are also there. So don't get confused. Okay. Gavimat, Raichur district, Karnataka. Raichur district, Karnataka. Then we have Palki Gundu. Palki Gundu. Palki Gundu. Raichur district, Karnataka. Raichur district, Karnataka. Nittur or Nittur. 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 Nittur, Bellary district, Karnataka. Bellary district, Karnataka. हाँ, Bellary district, Karnataka. Udegolam. 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 Udegolam, Bellary district, Karnataka. Rajula Mandagiri. Rajula Mandagiri. Rajula Mandagiri. Kurnool district, Andhra Pradesh. Rajula district. Sorry, Rajula Mandagiri, Kurnool district, Andhra Pradesh. Okay. Eragudi. Eragudi. फिर से हेरागुडी. वो हेरागुडी तो हमने मेजर में लिखवाया था ना, माइनर भी है वहां पे, तभी तो 2 हुआ ना, तभी तो 14 का हमने काउंट किया था.
सर तो केवल 14 मेजर रॉक एडिक्ट्स लिखवाया था.
हाँ तो 14 मेजर था, ये तो माइनर है ना सारे. टॉपिक याद रखना पड़ेगा, ये इसको याद रखना पड़ेगा. करना तो पड़ेगा, क्या करें उसके लिए तो यूपीएससी को बोलो. एरागुडी, कुर्नूल डिस्ट्रिक्ट, आंध्र प्रदेश. ब्रह्मगिरी. मैं सिर्फ यहाँ पे स्पेलिंग दिखा रहा हूं, ठीक है, कि स्पेलिंग देखने में आपको इशू ना हो. ब्रह्मगिरी, चित्रदुर्ग डिस्ट्रिक्ट, कर्नाटका. चित्र पहले लिखो, चित्र फिर लिखो दुर्ग, देन कर्नाटका. सिद्धापुरा. सिद्धापुरा अगेन चित्रदुर्ग डिस्ट्रिक्ट, कर्नाटका. चित्रदुर्ग डिस्ट्रिक्ट, कर्नाटका. लास्ट है जतिंग रामेश्वरा. जतिंग रामेश्वरा अगेन चित्रदुर्ग, कर्नाटका. ठीक है, रॉक एडिक्ट्स मेजर माइनर दोनों हो चुके. अब आते हैं पिलर एडिक्ट. पिलर एडिक्ट. सो पिलर एडिक्ट, मेजर पिलर एडिक्ट. पिलर एडिक्ट में सबसे पहले मेजर पिलर एडिक्ट. फर्स्ट कांधार. कांधार, it is in Afghanistan. Kandahar, Afghanistan. दिल्ली टोपरा, दिल्ली टोपरा, दिल्ली टोपरा, दिल्ली टोपरा, दिल्ली टोपरा, ओरिजिनली इन अंबाला डिस्ट्रिक्ट हरियाणा, originally in Ambala district Haryana, now it is located in Delhi. Now it is located in Delhi. It was transferred by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Okay. Again, Delhi Meerut, Delhi Meerut pillar inscription, Delhi Meerut pillar inscription, Delhi Meerut pillar inscription. So originally in Meerut, now in Delhi. Okay. Allahabad pillar inscription, Allahabad pillar inscription, now it is referred to as Prayag inscription. Allahabad or Prayag inscription, UP, Allahabad district UP or Prayag district UP, Prayag district UP. Lauria Araraj, Lauria Araraj, Lauria Araraj, Champaran district Bihar, Champaran district Bihar. फिर लौरिया नंदगढ़ and the third is Rampur. All are in Champaran district Bihar. All Champaran district Bihar. Lauria Araraj, Lauria Nandgarh एंड रामपुर यहाँ पे दिया भी हुआ है ये तीनों. एनसीईआरटी में ही जाओ, एनसीईआरटी पे ही जाओ. ओवरऑल यू हैव टू बी सरकारी दामाद ओनली. सरकारी दामाद एंड बहू ही बनना है आप लोगों को. ओके, सो दिस इज द major pillar inscription. Now minor pillar inscription. So we have, first of all, it is referred to as the schism edict. Schism edict. Okay. स्किज्म एडिक्ट, हाँ ये फर्स्ट है. स्किज्म एडिक्ट फाउंड एट सांची, सांची that is Raisen district MP. सांची, सांची Raisen district MP. Raisen, RAISEN, Raisen district MP. Second Sarnath, Varanasi district UP, Varanasi district UP. Kaushambi, Prayag district UP. Okay, so now the second will be, first category was schism edict. Now the second is the commemorative inscription. What is commemorative inscription? Hmm?
Celebration of something.
No.
Celebration of something.
Not celebration, but rather any important event which has occurred. So for recording that event, any important event which has occurred, so in order to record that event, and when it is written in some kind of inscription, that is classified as commemorative inscription, to commemorate something. It is basically the, okay. So here we have two examples. Nigali Sagar, Nigali Sagar, this is Nigali Sagar, and Rumendei. Nigali Sagar and Rumendei. Nigali Sagar and Rumendei. This is in Nepal. Okay, both are in Nepal. A fragmentary inscription, commemorative inscription में दो थे, अब एक आ जाएगा fragmentary inscription. Fragmentary inscription means in a very dilapidated condition it has been found. Fragmentary inscription, fragmentary inscription. It is found at Amravati, Amravati, found at Amravati, Guntur district, Andhra Pradesh. Guntur district, Andhra Pradesh. And then we have cave inscription. Cave inscription. Cave inscription. Cave inscriptions. Barabar Hills. Barabar Hills. Barabar Hills. Gaya district, Bihar. Barabar Hills.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, this cave inscription is a part of commemorative inscription only.
No. It is a donative inscription. Basically, the cave was donated to the Ajivika sect. So it is a part of donative inscription. Okay. So Barabar Hills, we have the Gaya district in the Bihar. Now among all this, can you find out the odd one? अभी तक जितने भी हमने बात की, जितने भी चाहे एडिक्ट हो, पिलर्स हो, केव हो, कैन यू फाइंड आउट द ऑड वन आउट? टोपरा में क्या है? ऑड वन आउट करो ना, मैं ऑड वन आउट करने का कह रहा हूं. How many are there in India and how many are there outside India? कौन कौन से हैं? और एक, दो, तीन, इसके अलावा और कोई नहीं है? निगाली सागर एंड रुमेंदेई. सो 99% जब भी क्वेश्चंस जब आते हैं, या तो जो क्वेश्चंस आता है मेजर रॉक एडिक्ट के बारे में या मेजर पिलर इंस्क्रिप्शन के बारे में आता है. 99% ऑफ द प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ क्वेश्चन आइदर मेजर रॉक एडिक्ट और पिलर इंस्क्रिप्शन के बारे में, और इफ दे आर गिविंग यू 4 to 5 names, then you have to find out, you have to remember, क्या करेंगे, इन 4 के साथ में आपको कंफ्यूज करेंगे, ये 3, ये और ये मिला के 5. सो यू कैन इजिली, यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड, उस टाइम पे ऐसा लॉजिक भी हो सकता है. सो पूछा जा सकता है कि विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग रॉक एडिक्ट और द इंस्क्रिप्शंस आर सिचुएटेड ओनली इन इंडिया. ऐसे भी पूछा जा सकता है क्वेश्चन. सो इन दैट वे यू हैव टू रिमेंबर ओनली 5. इसके अलावा जो भी अगर आता है तो यू कैन इजिली आइडेंटिफाई. सो वहां पे सम काइंड ऑफ एलिमिनेशन विल वर्क. मोर देन दैट, रिमेंबर द मेजर रॉक एडिक्ट, द पिलर रॉक एडिक्ट मेजर. माइनर का उतना जरूरत नहीं है. माइनर में अगर आप आते हैं तो फिर डोनेटिव, कमेमोरेटिव, इंस्क्रिप्शन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में याद रखो. ठीक है. वर्षा, इन मेमोरी ऑफ समथिंग इंपॉर्टेंट. नो, स्किज्म एडिक्ट इज नॉट, that is what you have written in memory of something important is the commemorative inscription. Schism edict is basically referred to when the division in the sect is taking place. Division in the sect. So basically how the Buddhism was divided into Hinayan and the Mahayana, that is basically given in that Sanchi inscription that is maintained there.
So the commemorative fragmentary is a minor pillar inscription.
Okay.